Niagara 124, your source for news, entertainment, food, and jibber-jabber. Put on your thinking cap. It better be a Santa hat because it's December, which means it's Christmas. Prepare for your debriefing. This week on Niagara 124, it's Christmas, that's all I care about, but it's also our final show of the year, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, and it's gonna be a big, giant, crazy wombat of a show. All sorts of people are here. Ooh, what's next? All this and more on 124. Hello, everybody! How's everyone doing on this fabulous Friday, December 1st, 2017? As always, I'm Nico!
Bobby.
And I am Joe, and why does my mic sound finicky?
Because you're screaming so loud into the mic that it literally is having
We
a stroke.
secretly switched out the mics, and I have the good mic.
Did you really?
No!
I just think it's being finicky.
It's not being, your face is being finicky.
Yours is.
What's that even mean?
I don't know.
Well, then you shouldn't use it.
Meh.
It's an insult.
Meh.
So, this is, as I said, our final show of the year.
Yeah. We'll be back next semester, right?
Yeah, like January, February we'll be back.
Yeah.
Just pay attention to the Niagara 124 Twitter and Facebook.
Speaking of Twitters...
Speaking of Twitters, let's not talk about the fact that Joe got a Twitter.
I got a Twitter!
No. And it's like, what is it?
It's capital GD, Joe, lowercase, all Joe lowercase, and 42.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, Joe, who has never social media'd before, still comes up with his name as if this was AIM.
What?
The only thing that is missing is like lowercase x, uppercase x, GD Joe 42 rar. That's the only thing that's missing. Like, what the... You are definitely one of those accounts, aren't you?
I'm not one of those accounts.
What's your first tweet? You haven't tweeted yet.
I haven't tweeted yet.
Yeah.
I was going to tweet, I have been birthed of the great... something. I was going to do some great, hilarious tweet.
I like how he thinks like that's a great, hilarious tweet.
I have been birthed!
You have so much to learn about the Twitter.
The Twitter?
The Twitter.
The Twitter. Should I push my luck and tweet at the big guy on Twitter?
I mean, how quickly do you want to be banned from Twitter?
I won't be banned.
Oh,
he'll
that's
just
cute.
block me.
No, you'll be banned. You'll
be
just
banned.
No. Depends on what you say.
Yeah, Twitter's really biased, though. They don't.
Yeah, they're really biased.
They don't
really
take action.
biased?
They don't take action against people who do bad things because they're the president of the United States.
Actually,
they're very biased against people who agree with.
So, there's a fun fact was that Twitter was actively removing hashtags that were critical of Hillary Clinton during the election.
Oh yeah,
like, specifically when the DNC leak happened, they removed it from trending and like basically blacklisted the hashtag, so they had to make a new hashtag. And
yeah, Twitter does stuff like this all the time. They didn't just do it with that. They did it with stuff criticizing the Saudi government. They did, I believe. They also did it with stuff criticizing the Democratic Party. They've done it with any.
The only one they won't touch Donald Trump because one, he's the president.
Yeah,
and they know what will happen if it will not end well.
No.
But the other one is who wants to put our tinfoil hats on, ladies and gentlemen?
Woo!
It's time for tinfoil hat conspiracy theories.
They're turning the frogs.
You see, what's actually happening is it's a grand conspiracy. Donald Trump was put in to actively undermine the current political system, and specifically the Electoral College, so that way there'd be a violent upheaval of the current way in which we elect individuals. Therefore, the Democrats will be able to always win.
Hail Hydra!
Now, all of that is a load of crap
Yeah.
that I just made up, but someone will take that soundbite and just run with it. Specifically, hopefully, someone south of the Mason-Dixon line that makes a lot of money.
Let's see.
But
speaking of south of the Mason-Dixon line,
Kevin, what's happening south of the Mason-Dixon line?
Nothing
so
important.
there's
Exactly.
there's the continuing situation in Alabama.
Oh yeah, Roy Moore's a piece of garbage. We all
Yeah.
know it.
You
We all
mean
know
the
it.
you mean the continuing situation that everyone expected to happen? Like,
Yeah.
Hey guys, you can only be against child predators if you're gay or if you're trans. That's the only way. That's
Wait,
what he said.
What?
He came out and said that, like, oh, the gays and the lesbians and the trans are against me because that's the way they think. Like, no, you're a child predator.
No, that's not how this works, Roy.
Did he just try to like Tumblr logic his
He
way
tried
out
to
of
Tumblr
this?
logic. I don't believe
But
this.
did he literally just pull the exact opposite of Spacey?
Yeah.
He just pulled the exact opposite.
He did a 180 Spacey.
like Spacey was like, I choose to now live as a gay man, and like Roy Moore's like, I choose to now all claim that you are all gay.
Oh, that's just ridiculous. But
I mean, so here's the
Keep in mind this-
here's the thing with the news. When this came out, they're like, oh man, this controversial stuff. They're like accused. Of,
this is
like,
Alabama.
and
I'd like to remind you.
literally the first thing came to my head. I'm like, what is it going to be Alabama? And they're like, Alabama, and I'm like, yes, no way. Forrest Gump, say what? No way. And
Mom.
not to be mean to Alabama.
We do.
But what the heck, Alabama?
You have some good things, Alabama, and we.
I mean,
really-
everything, like, there's a span. There's, like, northern Florida, Alabama. It's okay when you get to, like, Georgia.
Yeah.
But, like, there's, like, that pocket, like, parts of Louisiana, too. where
The
it's
Delta
just,
and Mississippi.
like, the people that it took them a really long time to make bestiality illegal. Like, those states that made it, yeah, 2006. Maybe we should finally make this illegal.
Maybe we should
Yeah.
do that with our pets.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we should.
Will you stop smacking your mic? It's working fine.
I'm just checking.
No, Joe, are you listening to your headphones?
Joe has
I
to
think my
smack
head-
things to make sure they work, Nico.
I think my headphones might be crap.
Yeah, those are probably the ones that don't work.
Probably are. And I'm just doing this for no reason.
He's smacking. What was that, Bobby? He needs to smack things to make sure they work. Oh, there's jokes
wait,
there somewhere. Yeah, that's.
Oh wait, let me just.
That's how that works.
So where's our budget
Zach and
for
I are switching
hardware?
right now.
And
We have the budget for hardware. But there's the only thing wrong.
Oh, this sounds
There's
much
nothing
better.
wrong with the equipment in WNIA. You people just don't know how to use it.
This sounds much better. I just had bad headphones.
Yeah, it was the one with one ear missing.
how come we haven't replaced the headphones yet?
I think we might even have an extra pair in there. We used to. I don't know what happened to them. We haven't replaced the headphones yet because that is an issue for someone who needs headphones, and so far no one has complained. So
No one has complained.
we work like every government. You have to file a formal report, and you may see a new pair of headphones within 5 to 7 years.
Ooh,
Speaking of government bureaucracy,
speaking of 5 to 7
yeah,
years.
you hear about the tax code that they're trying to pass in the Senate.
Okay, so it's funny because every single person talking about this tax code, they're like, well, it's gonna cut taxes for the wealthy, and it is. Like that's
Yeah.
been like PolitiFact went through into this, but here's what they always say: well, it's gonna cut it by, and they give like a percentage, and they go, and for middle and working class families are expected to see an increase in their taxes over 10 years. And the increase,
No percentage.
The increase is roughly like somewhere between $100 and $200, and it could still actually be they go $200 less. There's basically just this bracket of it's going to swing $200 up or down, but they're like it's going to increase taxes by how much?
Well,
notice how they won't say over 10 years. sometime within a 10-year span,
So
it may
in the next
increase
month,
it by a couple
taxes will
$100.
increase by $200, and then after 10 years, it'll still be $200.
Like, yeah, so it's not like it's this consistent, but like it's gonna increase taxes.
Well, there's some issues with the tax plan, and especially some of the things they managed to sneak into it.
Oh, you mean the
Like-
the Medicaid and the...
Well, you can't deduct student loans. The fact that churches can now preach politics at their pulpit without losing
That's
their
a little...
Yeah, that's a problem because the evangelicals will have a field day with that one. So
You wait, you mean that churches can preach politics at the as opposed to what they were already doing?
but it's a technicality because they weren't doing it in the church and to like I don't know how it worked, but the point being
baloney.
But you can
baloney.
agree with me that this is a problem. Right?
No, because freedom of speech.
But there's a difference.
No, there's a First
No,
Amendment right.
they want to, but here's the thing. They have a right to say it, but they don't have a right to, like, here's the thing. We need to make sure that the evangelicals and those who want to increase the prominence of religion in politics do not have the ability to do so, because that would be terrible for our country.
Politics and religion should be completely separate.
Thank you, Bobby.
But just because these preachers can talk politics does not mean that there is not a separation of church and state. The only way that church and state would actually mix is if legislatively something got passed that promoted a certain religion over another.
You think they wouldn't try that?
Think they haven't already
Oh,
tried
man,
that?
I
that
think
good
they've
old-
tried
You
that
think
for a
that
while.
everyone hasn't
That
already
good
tried
old
that?
Christianity is the only religion we can believe in, right? Republican.
Like, none of that's gonna, this is all scare tactic. It's never gonna, they have been trying to do this for decades. And you study history, you're fully aware of the fact that this is just the same thing in a different package.
What, the taxes?
Everything. The only difference now with this, with the media, is that people are now fully aware of the catastrophe that is government. Government has always been dysfunctional. The Carter administration was so nitpicky that it's the reason he only served one term. You do realize that Carter was one of the worst presidents because he so micromanaged everything that he almost destroyed the government.
Yeah, I got no love for Carter, don't get me wrong.
But, I mean, and the thing is, like, people are kind of aware of that, but unless you study it, no one is really aware of the fact, like, oh, geez, like, he really was involved in that. Now, every single moment of government, which you only used to be able to see on C-SPAN, is now being tweeted out by an unhinged lunatic.
Ha!
And that's it. There's your plot point. Donald Trump needs to, like, stop. Like, every
Did you see-
time.
But
Did
you
Yes, I have seen every tweet.
what he tweeted about the UK stuff, like, and they canceled his trip to the UK.
When
Like
was,
recently,
wait,
very,
there was a
very,
new one?
very recently. Yeah.
That was the Twitter
let me
thing.
Get this
That's
up.
not. Oh yeah, is that? I don't know. I'm thinking of all the other ones that he's tweeted recently.
Look, in all
where-
honesty, he did something stupid. That's all you need to know. He keeps
So they
doing-
fired Matt Lauer for sexual assault allegations, but when are they gonna fire NBC and CNN for fake news? He actually tweeted that.
Well, both are issues, Donald, but
You don't.
don't fire people for that.
You don't correlate that. Those two aren't even related.
They aren't.
What?
But really, why?
I
do
mean,
you, why
that
do you
was
even?
a worse pivot than Kevin Spacey. That was a worse. That pivot was even worse.
I mean, let's be quite honest. Why do you even read Trump's tweets anymore? If you want to cry yourself, do you like crying yourself?
No,
to sleep,
I just
or?
when they pop up and I need to make sure they're actually real and not being made up, and then I go and I'm like, oh no, like I don't follow Donald Trump on Twitter.
I wouldn't.
I don't
You know,
either.
no one's gonna follow. I follow the press secretary.
He
You know, I follow Sarah Huckabee Sanders because I want to see whatever the hell they're trying to promote. Because from a PR perspective, like that's important. Like this is the highest point PR can get. The press secretary of the President of the United States of America. How are they going to be able to damage control this thing? And the answer is they can't. They can't.
ended up retweeting some tweet from British extremist
It was
group?
a far-right British
yes,
extremist
I heard
group,
of
yeah.
that.
Britain
Oh,
First
that was
or
bad.
something?
Yeah, that was in all honesty, he,
Donald.
as usual, he did something stupid, of course,
Oh,
and it
Donald,
was something that was
why?
unfounded, and that is an issue.
Why Donald? No.
Look, at this point,
I like everyone's coming out and they're like, Melania doesn't want to be first lady, and like Melania's like, no, I saw the no, everyone, like even she's kind of like, no, of course I do, please get me out of here. Like she said it right after they got elected. She's like, I don't want to be here. I was hoping Donald would I told him, like, why do you want to run for president, Donald? Like, it's not a good job,
Is this
Donald.
direct quote?
Yeah,
This is-
actually,
we got a
yeah,
soundbite.
this is a
We got a
soundbite.
soundbite, yeah.
Soundbite. Yeah.
We have the exclusive.
The soundbite from Melanoma Turnip
What?
about her husband Doodle Turnip.
Alright, let's talk about happier stuff now.
Turnip
What did you?
turnip.
So guess what? I did during Thanksgiving break.
What'd you
Best
do during the break?
transition.
I pulled my Wii out of storage and I played Wii bowling.
Did you get your stuff from the Pepsi thing?
No,
yet?
it never
Really?
came.
Is
And it
this-
said it should take 14 days, and it's been like 4 weeks. So I think they just lied, or someone stole it.
I just ate a ton of food over Thanksgiving.
Well, so did I.
Mostly just hung around.
This is what we should talk about, people. According to like the health scientist people, you're supposed to throw out your leftovers after 4 to 5 days.
Really?
So basically, if they're made on Thursday, you're supposed to throw them out on Monday.
No, that goes for a lot of things.
And but guess what?
What?
Like I've had 2-week-old pizza and never gotten sick, and I still have some things that are leftovers.
I wouldn't eat pizza that's been in the fridge for 2 weeks.
Now, see, why not?
I just wouldn't do that.
I would. And that's it. I feel like I don't know. Maybe that's why all the scientists are gonna be like, this is nonsense. But I mean, I grew up in like the Italian family where you want to know how you told if something was went bad. You smelled it. It smelled
I
okay.
have a question though. Why?
That is literally my father.
I have a
That's
My
question.
father literally said.
And
if
how
it
many? But
smell
how
it-
many times does he get food poisoning?
Never.
Exactly.
How?
Because our stomachs, I think, are a little bit more adapted
Why-
to this disaster.
Why did you have 2-week-old pizza in your fridge in the first place?
Well, because you would buy pizza and it just sits there, and then like new stuff goes in front of it, so it gets thrown slowly.
That's
Work
not
to the back of
that's
the fridge.
That's not how my refrigerator works.
Okay. So like, I'm not talking about pie pizza. I'm talking about tray pizza.
Yeah.
Because we order trays.
Yeah.
So like, that's a 32-piece tray, and there's like 2 people in the household.
Oh,
That's
you
a
got, like,
lot of
full
pizza.
tray.
Yeah, like
a full tray.
A full tray.
I only get half a tray.
Yeah.
Who gets a half a tray?
Everybody.
No.
Everybody gets half a tray.
No, you get a full tray and you get it cut into 24. Because 32 is too small, so you get it cut into 24.
Half a tray's enough for a family.
How big is the slice cut into 24? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like this big. So yeah, seriously, no, it's the best trick. Like if you get a tray pizza, get it cut into 20. If you get a full tray, get it cut into 24. Because it's just. But we bowling, eh?
We bowling.
This is a running meme at the show. I'm making this a meme at the show. We bowling.
We're so dank, fam. Is it the new guardrail? Is
Oh,
we
man,
bowling
we
the new
haven't talked about
guardrail?
guardrails in a long time.
That was season 1, episode 1, guardrails.
That was
When Bobby suggested, Bobby didn't understand how guardrails were killing people and said, like, do they just, like, get up,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
with a knife?
Yeah.
So, like, we had, like, originally, our show logo was just going to be a guardrail holding a knife, but
Me too.
graphics
Me
are
also.
hard. Instead, it's a koala dragging
Man.
Edward Cullen from Twilight
I've
away
got
for
a,
some reason.
I've got a recommendation for everybody. You should
No.
go watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, cause man, I started that show.
Okay, Bobby.
And I caught up with
Nah.
it. over
Yes, I'm
break.
fully aware of the fact you caught up
It's
with Brooklyn.
great.
Bobby,
Yeah.
Bobby,
What?
you need to chill out with the Brooklyn
Okay,
Nine-Nine.
What?
Bobby, you are at 10. You gotta take it down to a 7, bro.
No. According to Sam, he's like a 38.
What? She likes stuff way more than I do. What are you talking about?
I know and that's like the irony is that I get like half of a story from each of you, and I just sit here and I'm like, oh, you two, what the hell is going on?
It's a good show.
I want you two to swap places for one day.
What do you mean?
Like, I want Sam to
have
become
Sam in
you,
here?
and you... No, I just want Sam to literally transform herself into Bobby, and Bobby transform himself into Sam, and see what the hell would happen.
Is this like a Freaky Friday situation where they just switch bodies?
Yes, but only for one day.
Oh. Okay, that would be weird.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the point, yeah.
In other news... You
God.
want to go back to news?
What other news do we have?
Oh, you heard what's going on in California?
It's on fire again.
No, that's not what I was talking about.
I don't know.
So let's go way
More
back
of
when the illegal immigrant was accused of murdering that woman
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
Oh,
sanctuary city, and he was found not guilty.
Justice system.
He was, and what's funny is basically they successfully claimed that proved that he accidentally shot her. To which illegal possession of a firearm is what he's getting tagged with, but he's not even getting tagged with manslaughter, which is interesting because this guy down in Chautauqua County, or was it Cattaraugus, which the guy the hunting accident is being charged with manslaughter because he was hunting at night illegally and shot a woman to death because he thought it was a deer because they look very similar.
What? Why? Wait. Okay. First of all,
That's a
where
joke,
was he?
Bob.
What?
Oh, so he was just
Where was
like
he
wandering. So
Hunting
in the town, just like
in the town.
Well, she was walking on a path that was like alongside where the woods were, like near her house in the back area, the wooded area, like walking her dogs. And he was, but you're supposed to stop, like hunting, at dusk.
Yeah.
And it was like night, and he was still hunting.
Yeah,
So
you
he's
can't
like,
do
I
that.
thought I saw a deer, so I pulled out my pistol. And I shot it, and about 200 yards away, I heard screaming, and when I went over, I shot a woman to death.
That's absolutely, like, there's no way he's getting out of that. That's,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
But apparently, how did this guy get off? He didn't even get manslaughter.
California.
California politicizing a murder.
But here's the thing, and I should probably point this out. I'm just pointing out the facts here because the family is very adamant that they didn't care how this went either way. They just want everyone to stop making it into a political ordeal so this family can just finally get on with it. That's not gonna happen.
Nope.
No. But
Nope.
The clashes on Twitter are like priceless because someone's like, the same Republicans that didn't care about Trayvon Martin are now saying. I'm like, one was okay.
There's a difference between that case.
There's a difference between a police officer shooting someone and a civilian shooting someone.
And with
those are different cases. And with the police officer shooting someone, he absolutely should have been arrested for that. The fact that he wasn't is a problem in the judicial system.
And
because now there's this crazy amount of just everyone shooting each other. We should be like Japan, and there should be you have to pass 700 different things to get guns.
Was Zimmerman was a police officer?
Oh wait, yeah, no, he was. That's
He was,
right.
that was the neighborhood watch idiot.
Okay, this has literally been how long it's been since Trayvon Martin that I don't even remember.
George
who shot
Zimmerman
Trayvon.
was
It was
the
Zimmerman.
hero of his neighborhood.
Yeah, the hero of his
shooting the
neighborhood.
unarmed guy with Skittles and iced tea.
Yeah, okay. And he got off, and it shouldn't have gotten off. But when people
Florida
are
laws.
I love when people are well, the same Republicans that are saying we should just accept the verdict. When that happened with Trayvon Martin, you're like, are you kidding me? So I'll take this all back. But anytime one of those shootings and they're and they acquit the guy and they're like, oh no, he's not guilty. Whether it's the police officer, neighborhood watch guy, just guy walking down the street that just, I'm going to be a police officer. Remember the guy that is just a police officer for a day because he worked in the government and he's just I want to be a police officer for a day and then shot someone.
It's dumb.
All of them should definitely be held accountable and they never are. But then this guy was also not held accountable. So, to argue the fact, well, you didn't care about Trayvon Martin, and you said that we should just accept the verdict, but you're screaming about this verdict. We should be screaming about every verdict.
Also, I would say...
Because clearly there is issues in our judicial system that you can get away with just murdering someone.
There are issues in our judicial system.
Across the board.
Even though
everyone should be held accountable for their actions.
I agree. But even though I would argue in certain situations it's a lot more difficult to figure out, say, with certain cases that some people claim... it was an unjust killing. In some cases, it could be claimed that
there
it wasn't
are
just
certain ones,
where,
say
the Michael Brown case, where it was found he actually attacked the officer.
There's issues like that come into play. The media will.
Yeah, the hands up! Don't shoot! He didn't do that. He attacked the officer. The jury found he did it.
This is the. See, the issue is, we're not going to cover all of the information because
We don't have all the evidence. Only the
yeah.
we can't get the full picture.
I mean, even like the media too is never going to cover
Yeah.
the full picture.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's not cool to. No one wants to hear the intricacies of a case. The media
And the complexities.
The media to this day is still a business. It's important to remember that the media is a business that needs to make money.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna go against whatever group is gonna offer them the most views.
Yeah.
That's
They-
important to remember.
They make more money off sensationalizing certain cases and, ruining people's lives than they do off actually reporting the truth.
Well, that's where, like,
Oh, and if there's a big shooting, let's talk about the shooter. Whoa, he was such a great guy. Look at him. He's got publicity now because he shot all these
like,
people.
Why? And this is the other reason, like, the media is... And that is one of the things that does frustrate me to no end about...
The mainstream
like,
media.
News media, is that they're just like, hey, let's keep talking about the shooter, even though that's exactly what
The shooter would
the
have
shooter
wanted.
wanted. So, there's no logic in news, and there hasn't been because since the 24-hour news cycle was created.
Like, did you hear that incident? Did you hear that incident on Polish Independence Day, where they called a Polish group of people who were marching for their Independence Day Nazis? Because a couple of idiots joined the march and were kind of pushed away, but they were still there, so they still called them Nazis because the mainstream news media still needs its views.
And this is the main. I didn't see that story, but
You didn't see the Polish Independence Day march story?
no,
It was a European thing.
exactly. I don't pay much attention to European politics.
I have a
until-
Swedish guy I
But
watch on
here's
YouTube.
the thing is like, oh, this Polish Independence Day march was Nazis. Funny because they're talking about their independence, and remember how they were taken
occupied
over
by
by
the
the
Nazis?
Nazis. So I'm sure in a country where both swastikas and hammer and sickles are punishable by jail time, that they definitely were supporting the Nazis. It's like fact check.
Yeah.
Like, even I know that that's, like, it's like Germany. It's highly illegal for that even kind of speech to be permitted in that country. So, yeah, there was definitely Nazis marching through the streets of Poland because their history points that they want that. They definitely want that in Poland.
Yeah.
Like, no!
No.
No!
Anybody who knows the cursory history of Poland knows they've been kicked around by both communists and fascists.
I feel so bad for Poland. I feel bad. I feel bad for Poland because they're doing everything. Poland is hinting that they might want out of the EU.
Oh, the EU's gonna hammer them for that.
Why do you think this is happening? Why do you think that the media is already
Germany's using the media as like a battle axe against any of its enemies.
No one is, and Poland. The problem is if Poland ever finally does get out of the EU, like they want, and it's heavily been implied that Poland wants out of the EU. They're not England. It's not going to work because England is nice where England's an island, so
Yeah.
they, what do they really have to worry about? They're England.
Yeah.
Poland is surrounded on all sides by the EU. They're screwed.
Yeah.
But
It's insane. And also Poland disagreed with the EU's on their policy because Poland, unlike Germany, did not want it to properly vet people coming into the country. And they focused on, instead of letting refugees in, they focused on the crisis in Syria, the actual issue of the crisis. And they got flack for this by Germany because they weren't just broadly opening up their borders.
I honestly, the issue with Europe, when you're looking at the refugee crisis in Syria, there's no way to win on this.
But the main focus
Because
should
you basically
be...
displaced an entire country.
But the main focus should be the issue in Syria.
There
the
is no
crisis
Syria.
in
There is no... The problem now
There is no
is
Syria.
when Poland was focusing on the issue of the crisis in Syria, there may have been some little bit of Syria left to even, fight over.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen photos of what Syria looks like right now.
Yeah.
There's not much of Syria left. So even if, we finally, this is Berlin, World War II, it doesn't, finally you removed, the enemy. And all that is left are burning buildings and smoldering remains because there's nothing left. So I mean, no matter which way Syria goes, it's going to be a long time before anyone's moving back to Syria.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, like, when we talk about, refugees, these refugees do not want to come here. Like, there's this idea, like, we don't want to let them in here. Like, they don't want to be here.
They would have loved to
Unfortunately,
stay
their
in Syria.
entire country has been obliterated. So, they don't exactly have a choice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the thing with the U.S. refugees that we don't want them here, they actually are vetted quite severely in Syria and along the way, going, like, from Syria to Turkey to this. Like, there's, like, multiple vetting in the process. But we don't want to talk about that because we don't want refugees.
But there
Which is illogical because, honestly, I would love it if Niagara Falls became a refugee town. We need
people.
And this is from historically, refugees are much more willing to work in the country that helped them. So, like, if we accepted these refugees and didn't stop turning them away and, like, harassing them, they would be much more likely to open businesses in these areas, try to, like, work, promote, get the economy functioning. I mean, there's a few, there's quite a few businesses owned by refugees in Buffalo that, like, do well, and they're in neighborhoods, they're trying to basically, like, create this revival, and they're trying to do it in Niagara Falls, but by the time we were supposed to get the refugees we were supposed to be getting, we started shutting down the borders because El Presidente Margarita over here.
I like to call him Orange Ferret Man.
Orange Ferret Man, yes. is talking to a base that has no idea. And that's the number one problem right now on both sides, is that no one is actually bothering to look at any sort of facts. They're bothering to look at the facts that support what they believe, but they just want to scream and go, you're wrong, I'm right, which has always been a thing why you don't discuss politics. But no one wants to have, like, a serious conversation about, like, issues. Instead, they just want to, like, scream at each other and be on Twitter and just be a bunch of hysterical goobers.
And unfortunately, we have been guilty of that once, but...
Yeah, but we just like screaming. That's
yeah.
different.
But then mainly, I think we could have had a more civil discussion on the issue.
Yeah,
I think if it ever comes up again, I think we should have a more civil
I was
discussion
just
on
sitting
the
here
issue.
like, oh man, what's going on?
Yeah, Bobby was just here, like, with his eyes.
I feel
just,
bad
like,
for you,
blinking.
Bobby. Just
I don't.
Yeah, I feel bad for me too.
I don't feel bad for Bobby. Bobby just exists.
Man, I got some stuff here we can talk about. If
Yes!
you have anything
What
else.
thingies?
All right, let me get this article up. So
Is
I
it about bananas?
got the headline here. Kellogg's claims Frosties is an adult cereal to get around kids' sugar tax, which I didn't know was a thing.
What?
What is kids' sugar tax?
Is it in the U.S. or is it in the U.K.?
It's the UK.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
that makes sense.
Right away. Matter of fact, the Kellogg's just stopped, or is it Kellogg's or is it? Yeah, it must have been Kellogg's. It was Rice Krispies. There's something called Ricicles or something.
Ricicles?
And it's basically like Cocoa Krispies covered like glazed in sugar. And like Kellogg said they're going to stop making it because they need to remove the amount of sugar in their products.
I think my mic was low, that's why I couldn't hear.
And then
Yeah. That was the issue. Could have just turned up the volume.
it was loud enough to me.
I mean, you talk real loud.
You do talk
so-
really loud, so I'm going based on the bar. But like this, there is a sugar tax in the UK because.
So what? But why? What
Okay,
is that?
so you know how in America, like, we just give our kids massive amounts of sugar,
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh, there's no relationship between sugar and hyperactivity.
The sugar tax is a health thing.
The sugar tax is a health thing.
Because
Basically,
nanny
they don't want kids eating sugar.
Well, Frosties is an adult cereal in the UK.
Yes, it is.
So
Yes.
there's no sugar tax.
It's a very
Because
adult
adults
cereal.
don't. Adults' health doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. No, adult health does not matter unless you're
Dying.
unless you're taxing soda pop in New York City.
I was actually quite annoyed by the fact I couldn't get a big gulp.
So, this is a fun one, in just millennial weirdness. Like you said, like, you can't write off your student loans as a thing. But at the same time, what is it with this simultaneous thing with a lot of people I know that... So remember the avocado toast debate all those months ago?
Stupid!
Okay,
where did
so
that come from?
there was an Australian billionaire that said that millennials would be able to afford houses.
A billionaire. He can afford anything in the entire world.
So here's the deal but his quote was taken out of context. He said, well, if they stopped buying avocado toast, they'd be able to actually buy a house. And they're like, oh yeah, my $20 avocado toast is going to be towards thing. They completely missed the point, because the full point he actually made was the fact that the millennials in general, and this is kind of a fact, millennials spend a lot of money on things they could have gotten a lot of money on unnecessary things. Millennials are in a lot of debt, not only student loan debt, but like credit card debt. Millennials are in a lot of debt.
Yeah.
And the problem, because and they're all like, well, no one taught us how to handle money. And it's like, but even like a basic person would be able to, like, how many times on Twitter you see like, oh, my bank account this morning, like my bank account last night $400, my bank account this morning -3.
I don't follow
but
other
this
people.
is like a
I
thing
only
that
follow,
exactly.
celebrities
But
and
this
stuff.
is like a thing that goes around, and like even like my mother's talking about. There's like people that work for her, and they'll like walk in with those $7 Starbucks drinks every morning. Like my mother doesn't even go and get like a $7 coffee every morning. You get
Starbucks.
Exactly. Yeah.
You go to Tim Hortons and get
Tim Hortons is $5.
$1.80 French vanilla.
Exactly. Yeah, but when you start ordering those like Frappuccino things, extra large size, but
even at Tim Hortons, it's like $3 plus $2 for a bagel. $5 gets me a bagel and a coffee.
Yeah, but I mean that's just there's this like thing with my generation. Like, yes, student loans are ridiculous, and you're gonna have to pay them forever. But on the other hand, every time someone says, well, we can't afford houses, how are we supposed to afford this or that? Okay, one is choose your location. Maybe you shouldn't be living in New York City.
Yeah.
That's if you are in that much debt, you should not even like the rich people live in Connecticut and commute to New York City.
Yeah.
They live in like areas where it's cheaper. Even right now what's going on, people are getting priced out of Buffalo because the like Elmwood Village and thing, the prices are obscene.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, most working class people who work and live in New York City, they actually live in Newark, New Jersey.
They live in New Jersey because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
In New York City, but people don't even like. Let's look at Niagara Falls. I live in a fairly big house in the city. It's a very nice house, but it's in the city.
Yeah.
Now, if you took that house and you had that house sold for whatever it sold for, if you were to put it in Lewiston, where you live,
Yeah.
that same house would sell for like 3 times more and now be out of my price range.
Yeah.
But because of the location and where it's in, which is not a bad location, it's just not, like some suburban, lovely, wonderful. It's the city.
Yeah.
You are in a city, but it's a nice house in the city. And that's why when people are like, oh, I can't afford anything, I said, you can get a house for about $30K in the okay part of Niagara Falls. I'm not talking about the burnout part. Like, it's near the burnout part of Niagara Falls, but it's the okay part of Niagara Falls. You can get a house for between $30,000 and $40,000. And if you mortgage it right, you could theoretically own a house, own property in an area that is expected to uptick. And the way that people are getting priced out of Buffalo, eventually it's going to trickle in Niagara Falls. And already, people that work in Buffalo, that got priced out of Buffalo, are going and moving to DeVoe. Because they said they can buy a house in DeVoe within their price range that would have been like triple in Buffalo.
Wow.
And DeVoe's a nice neighborhood, so they're okay with that. But I mean, that's one part of it. So, I mean, I hate to explain to millennials like how to budget, but one is like if you're looking for something, you need to be able to compromise. And that's one thing I think the baby boomers did well. And the baby boomers do a lot of things kind of bad. And Gen X is a mess because Gen X is the one that kind of trained the millennials to just spend all their money and be in debt. Because that was very much a 1980s Gen X thing.
Oh, that was I don't.
Yeah,
know.
the prep in the 80s was like everything had to be coated in marble. That's why the housing crisis happened, because like everyone was buying, once again, historically everyone just buys things they can't afford. And I don't understand the concept even like now in 2017. Like Bobby, Joe,
Yeah.
our generation does not really care about public image anymore. Like, keeping up with the Joneses is dead. Like, that is fairly dead for all. There's none of that, like, oh, I need to have this glitzy, yada yada.
I appreciate. Good.
But because of this, like there was a response to the avocado toast that explained why it's $20 for 2 slices of bread with an avocado on it. And they explain, well, we have to make organic multi-grain bread. Like, okay. And then we have to get organically growing avocados that are sustainably sourced. I'm like, okay, and here's like, you're already screwing yourself, but that's still way less than $20. And then we need to pay all of our workers in our little boutique shop a livable wage, which New York State already makes you do because they increased the minimum wage, and you're living in New York City, so you're already forced to pay them
$15.
Like, you're already forced to pay them pretty much $15. So I love when they're like, well, we have to pay them livable because we can't give them minimum. But I mean, the difference between a livable wage, you can have a wage that's lower, but if the healthcare benefits are there, it evens out. Like, a lot of times they say, like, forget like how much you're being paid, what are the benefits? And the other thing, when everyone's like, we need to raise the minimum wage. No, because all these companies are just gonna cut jobs.
Yeah.
And that's all they. And actually, did you hear what New York State's doing now?
Oh, what did they do?
So this is for on-call workers, so people that are called in.
Yeah.
So let's say you're scheduled to work a day, and originally how it was no matter what, if you were scheduled and they had to cancel, like if you show up. If you go in, like, walk in the door, you had to be paid 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, that was, even if they sent you, like, if you walked in the door and they said, go home, they still have to pay you 4 hours.
Yeah.
But now, they need to, like, if you're canceled last minute, even if you didn't show up, I still believe it's 4 hours. So even if you were just sitting at home and they text you, like, oh, don't come into work, they still have to pay you. And on the other hand, let's say someone called in sick at the last minute. Let's say, Joe, you and Bobby worked at a company, and like this morning you called and you like had severe stomach flu and were like, you're
dying.
You're dying. If I had to call Bobby in, I have to give him 2 hours over whatever he works, which is basically it's like time and a half plus. I think the numbers are, but basically what this is now encouraging people to just not have call-ins or switch everyone to salary, and that's the next logical move. Is fine. Okay, you're gonna make New York State's gonna make all these companies pay more to people because of scheduling things that are beyond their control. Like, that's great for you who is on call and you're like, yay, I'm going to get paid more because it's so inconvenient for me to drive to work. But guess what? You're going to get fired or you're going to be made a salary worker. And guess what happens when you're a salary worker? There's very little regulation over that. There's not really much overtime for salary work. There's no such thing as hour. You're not paid by the hour, you're paid by the day. In fact, you're not even paid by the day. You're paid a set amount. A salary worker makes this much per year. The end. They could.
It seems a little ridiculous with salary.
Yes, but that's what they make the work. As a matter of fact, a lot of managers in a lot of stores are paid salary because the managers always have to keep showing up, and if they had to keep paying them time and a half every time they showed up on their day off, it'd bankrupt the company, so they're paid salary. But no one realizes this, and Andrew Cuomo's just trying to run for president, so... I mean, on one hand, this is good for, like, my generation who's like, yay, more money, but on the other hand, yay, more money, by the way, we can't afford to have you anymore, so we're going to fire you, and we're going to keep this person. And there's no... There's no thought processes of the intricacies of budget. Same thing with... The thing is with, like, when we say we're going to cut taxes on the wealthy or we're going to increase taxes on the wealthy, the Republicans are not cutting taxes on the wealthy because they are wealthy. because
Yeah.
everyone in Congress has money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're cutting taxes on the wealthy because in their belief in their economic system, which is somewhat what I believe, but I kind of believe in a blended economic system, is a little complicated. But basically, rich people, you could tax them at 50%. It doesn't matter. They're never going to be like, oh man, we can't afford food today.
Denmark does that.
They're never going to be able to do that. The only thing that might happen is rich people have the incredible ability to hide their money and do what they want with their money.
Cayman Islands.
And furthermore, if they're a business, let's say like they own a corporation, and you're increasing taxes on their corporation,
yeah.
they're going to move to where it's cheaper. China, Mexico, somewhere else.
Where they can exploit some good exploitable
Exactly.
labor.
The difference is if you lower, this is the Republicans' theory. This is a theory. I'm not an economic major. I don't study economics. I don't know if it's kind of, I think that it's kind of in debate still whether it works or not. But the idea of trickle-down economics is not, the money will trickle down to the middle class and then the working class. That's not what trickle-down means. What it means is because you are lowering the taxes on the wealthy, with that surplus money they have, if they own a corporation, they are more likely, kind of like when Trump originally said he was going to try to provide incentives for people to move back
Return
to
to
the
the
U.S.,
United
basically
States.
like add tariffs and kind of say, hey, you might want to move back to the U.S. But the theory is that if you have wealthy individuals that have a lot of money that own mainly like businesses, and you lower their taxes, with that surplus of money they now have, they're going to put that money back into the system,
Yeah.
as opposed to that money getting shooed away somewhere and hidden.
But wouldn't that require, especially with businesses, the decrease the regulate? Because why would a company from the United States go back to the United States when they have to pay their workers in the United States a livable wage? They have to actually care about what they're putting into the environment, when they could just exploit everybody over in a foreign country.
Okay,
because businesses are naturally wanting to get the most out of their money and therefore will exploit these sort of developing countries.
They want to get the most out of their money, but that's more of a shareholder thing. But you have to corporate social responsibility.
What?
Okay, business ethics time. So this is something that no one ever talks about, and it's something called corporate social responsibility. It started literally forming when unions started forming, like when Carnegie called in, when Frick called in the Pinkertons and
To shoot up unions?
To shoot up unions. We finally decided that corporations are realizing something. If a corporation does something that's so bad that people literally will just stop supporting that corporation, I mean, bad press on a company is bad. Boycotts are bad. They hurt companies. Bobby, you've said this too. You want to tell a company that you're pissed at them? Stop giving them your money.
Yeah.
You don't like Chick-fil-A, you don't like Chick-fil-A CEO, stop buying Chick-fil-A.
That's why I have a ban on Chick-fil-A in my house.
Like, and when people are like, but I like, their chicken sandwiches are so good, then, like, they're not just going to do it because you told them, I don't like that. There is, in companies, they respond to their budget, they respond to their money, obviously, but they also, it is believed, and there's two different theories on this. There's a theory, pure capitalism states that a company's sole purpose is to make the highest amount of profits for the company. That is the original, like, pure, straight up, narrow view of capitalism. The other view of capitalism says, wait a second, and this is kind of what actually Starbucks did and why Starbucks got so popular.
Yeah.
Wait, what if we pay our employees a livable wage and pay off their college and do things for our employees so they'll in turn, not only will they support us, but the public will support us because we look good. We are, we don't look like some brutal company that is oppressive to its workers or is, like polluting the environment. Yeah. We look like a company that actually cares.
Yeah.
And then people are willing to, simultaneously while I'm saying, why are you buying that $7 Starbucks drink that you can afford? people are like, oh, but I'm going to buy it because I support this kind of, logic. Although Starbucks is a fallacy because it's kind of, as much as the good things they've done a lot of bad things too that get covered up and
same thing with
gentrification and kind of removing things.
Same thing with like Apple and other guys like that. Well, they're like, yeah, in the U.S., everybody's because they want to launch a good PR campaign. Meanwhile, in China, they're putting up suicide nets to keep their workers from killing themselves.
And I mean, what's going to happen is. This is the same reason that a lot of companies, even though they'll make bad products, Apple's going to start realizing this as soon. Right now, Apple's in other markets, so that's why they can sustain themselves.
Yeah.
But the U.S., the iPhone market's kind of going to start to collapse any day now because
they're too expensive for what you're getting.
They're too expensive and
I've been considering
inferior.
switching actually
But,
one of these days.
I mean, here's the deal: a company is not only responsible to its literal shareholders, but it is also responsible to what is called their stakeholders.
Yeah.
The community in which the community in which a store exists.
Yeah.
Has a stake in that company succeeding because it's part of the community.
Yeah.
The environment is technically a stakeholder. The consumer is a stakeholder. The employees are all stakeholders in this company. This is why you see a lot of companies do, philanthropic work.
Yeah.
They donate. And the reason they're charitable is it looks good,
PR.
but so a lot of it is PR, but the other part of it is if they build that relationship with that community is more likely to support them and they're more likely to make more money. It's that carrot versus stick method. Like Walmart exists solely because of the fact it is so cheap that it can exist.
Yeah.
But Walmart does, with the exception of the depressing way it treats its workers.
It does treat them like crap.
Which is historically been crap, but retail is hell, and Walmart is the worst retail because it's the cheapest. They got to cut it somewhere. Always remember that. You want the cheap price, they got to cut it in the workers. If you raise, and that's same thing like we say, well, you have to raise the minimum wage. That's just going to cause all the prices to go up. I mean, and then you won't support that. And you're not going to support that business because the price went up and you're not willing to pay that increase. So therefore, the company goes out of business and now you've created this. The economy can be fractured in so many different ways that it's there's two different methods to study it. One is, do you have a lot of cheap items because the dollar is basically valued high and you pay your workers kind of enough, but not really. There's some companies that basically just do it down the middle. Because you could either, and this is the argument, I mean, the other thing that happens with Walmart is, when we look at unemployment, do you want unemployment to go down, or do you want more of those individuals being employed to be making more money? This is one of the things that happens in New York State a lot with the welfare system and unemployment, is sometimes because of the bent you do get health coverage and certain things with welfare and unemployment. A lot of times it's actually easier for a lot of families just to be in that system than it is to have this job because the job offers less money and benefits than the current safety net system. And I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. And I'm talking specifically like in New York State, that's a thing. And in like Erie and Niagara County, there is a fairly strong safety net that could get taken advantage of. And there's arguments over whether or not it has. And people that need it can't necessarily get it, but people that don't need it are rioting. There's a lot. That's a different discussion for a different day. But there's this logic of, everyone's hiring, but they're hiring minimum wage. They're not going to, and if minimum wage goes up to livable, they're going to hire less people, which is less money, which means inflation happens, which means that $15 is now only worth $10, which, it will always balance itself out into this system that is kind of very hard to adapt to. And your only options are to become the micro states in this what goes on in Europe where everything is severely taxed. And you basically are paying for taxes are basically the equivalent of a long-term loan not spread across the entire mass.
Yeah.
So when people in Germany has free college, but it's not really free college, you're basically paying for everyone's college over the course of your life through taxes.
Yeah.
You're over time, you're basically paying more than you would have. It's kind of like a loan. But because it's spread out, it's different. But I mean, that's one of the. I mean, in my opinion, would you rather have more jobs that pay less, or less jobs that provide more? And that's kind of this. And what's going to happen now is because minimum wage is going up, you're going to have less jobs that pay more. Unemployment will probably, it's not going to, the net will probably not go, but people are going to get laid off, or they're going to get hours cut. They're going to get their hours cut. You know, oh, you were working this many hours and you're paid hourly? Well, you're not going to work as many hours now, or we're just going to stop hiring. It's like, and if you want to know exactly what that looks like, Niagara Falls is kind of a case study for what happens when a company needs to support itself on what money it has. Like Niagara Falls right now, I don't know if you heard this, but the budget just passed, and we're through attrition. We didn't fire anyone, but we're gonna have 5 less police officers, because basically 2 took an incentive to retire early. 4 actually, I think 2 took incentive to retire early. 2 were detectives that are retiring, and 1 was a vacant position already that they were looking for a new position. And but we're gonna have 5 less police officers. And then just have the police officers that are there do more for what they're paid on, because we can't afford that kind of money and we need to save money in the budget. That's kind of the logic of companies too. When the amount of money you have goes down, you find ways to still make the same amount of money, because you can't ever show your shareholders that you're losing money, or you'll fall apart on Wall Street. And this is why when people just like broad stroke economics and are like, this plan won't, like, no, you can't just like, this is bad, this works. No, there's so much variables that affect the economy.
Yeah, I hear you.
Kind of like how everyone was proven wrong about Black Friday. I loved that.
What happened?
The Buffalo News came out with an article that, like, Tuesday, and they interviewed, like, I think it was the Galleria Mall, and they went to the Outlet Mall, and they're like, well, you know, obviously Black Friday is suffering, and Black Friday's suffering because it's not Black Friday anymore. It's an entire week of sales, and then Amazon's on all week, and the sales are never not on.
Online shopping is so much better than physical shopping at this point.
So there's no point. It's not, though.
For sales during Black Friday,
for
the
sales,
whole week.
For sales, it is. But it's a whole week in the stores too. They're just not good sales anymore, because Amazon can cut lower. It's like Walmart, you know, you can cut lower. But Buffalo News came out, like, oh, the Canadians aren't going to come because, you know, the Canadian dollar's weak, the loonie is weak, and they don't really care about the deals here anymore. And you know, there's an outlet mall in Canada now, and they're just going to go to that one. And this is like the fashion, like the whoever's in charge of the fashion outlets came out and said, yeah, well, we're not seeing traffic like we used to. I mean, that mall's never it's not empty. Like, Eastern Hills is empty. Like, don't tell me that your mall is empty. There's people in your mall. It's just not, when you expanded, you had a lot more people because the Canadian dollar was strong. But guess what? On Black Friday, they went to the Galleria, and it was they said it was about 75% of people going to the Galleria were Canadian. And the people going to the outlet mall, the line was all the way out. It was Canadian. And the hotels downtown were like 98% booked. So, continue to tell me, oh, the Canadians aren't coming here because of the weak loonie. And they just don't. There's the Shop Canada movement going on. No, the Canadians are still going to shop here because it's still cheaper. Even with their dollar being valued at like 78 cents. And the fact that they're going to have to spend hours going across the bridge, and the fact that they're going to even have to probably pay, like, stupid, you know, duty on everything. The Canadian GST and PST, the Canadian tax system, is so convoluted and overpriced that it is still... I mean, in technicality, it kind of washes now, like it's a wash. But they still like coming here. They still like it here. And they like this outlet mall. And they'll go shop at their outlet mall, but the Canadians that prefer to come here are going to come here. They're not going to support a Canadian outlet mall because the price is still going to be higher because of the taxes.
Yeah.
And another thing that's just a side note that should probably be... that this is just a theory, but if the Canadians did it in the Canadian outlet mall what they like to do at our outlet mall,
What?
they would be arrested.
What?
What are you talking about?
Oh, have you ever been in a parking lot where the cars are mainly Canadian?
No.
So here's a thing that often happens, and this is a way to avoid. And it's not all Canadians; it's very, very much a small amount, but they really have pissed off a lot of people in the area that know retail. The Canadians like to just whatever they come here wearing like their worst clothes, like stuff they basically want to throw out,
Yeah.
and
They throw it.
they throw it, but instead of like they've gotten better. They now throw it in the trash can.
Yeah.
But they used to just leave their stuff right next to their car where they parked.
I heard about
you
that.
would, yeah, you would. There would just be like shoe boxes and like discarded clothing, and I mean it was like sometimes it was bad. There was like diapers and everything like just right next to their car. And I'm like, if I go into Canada and step on a like tulip, I'm gonna get shot by the Mounties. I'm like, and they come over here. I mean, my favorite one was one time a Canadian went specifically the wrong way down a one-way street, and they were aware of the fact that it was a one-way. It was the one next to La Hacienda on Pine.
Oh yeah.
That's a one-way street. You're supposed to go around Hyde Park and come back the other way. They turned down the wrong way and almost hit us, and we're honking at him. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a tourist." And I'm like, "No, you're a Canadian. See, if you were a tourist, you'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry." He's like, "Sorry, I'm a tourist." He literally said it like that. And I'm like, you honestly think we're going to believe that? We live here. You've been here about 18 times. We know the fact that you know what you're doing. But they kind of play this, "Oh, I'm a tourist." And I mean, that has been a consistent issue that people complain about. But on the other hand, they are single-handedly responsible for supporting our economy, since no one in Niagara Falls actually likes to support Niagara Falls. They are now starting to, but a lot of people, the second the price increases, aren't going to go. And I'm worried about this 7% business tax increase in the city of Niagara Falls, because that means my omelet price is going to go up quite severely, and I feel like a lot of my restaurants are going to close.
Oh no.
Omelet price is gonna go up. Amazing.
But economics is so...
Economics and working and stuff involving workers and stuff is difficult too. Did you hear about what's that magazine in New York? Like Gotham or
The
something?
New York magazine.
The New Yorker?
No. Something called like Gotham or something like that.
Batman.
Not like that, but the guy who owns it refused to let his workers unionize, and he basically literally shut down the whole news organization and basically threatened to fire everybody. if they did.
Batman should get on that.
Batman should get on that.
There's a lot of places that aren't allowed.
Stop doing that.
There's a lot of places that aren't allowed to unionize. Go in retail. Most retail is.
Oh,
not
Walmart's terrible with that.
I mean, but no, not even. I mean, most retail, there is like a deal. You do not talk of unionizing. But on the other hand, when you unionize, unions are very good at correcting, like, Frick shooting the unions with Pinkerton guards.
Yeah,
like
stuff
they're
like
very
that.
good at correcting that. But when the union becomes the de facto say, you get the case of, okay,
or when the union leadership doesn't care about the workers it's supposed to represent.
Oh, see, no, I meant more of the fact that they realize they have such a stranglehold that they
Basically rule the thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem as well.
I mean, that's
that's a
you live
Teamster
in
situation.
you live in this area. You're familiar with.
What?
Never mind.
Oh, what thing? I'm trying to remember.
He doesn't. You wouldn't. It was before your time, and you wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, I'm.
The thing
But
that happened before you were born.
Yeah, but
That
basically,
we remember very clearly.
well, I
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't. Neither
it's
do I.
not really. It was just a minor thing. It doesn't really matter. Well, basically, what I'm talking about is if a union can get so powerful that
It could basically take over the company.
it basically A, takes over a company, or B, creates it that their workers need to be paid so much that these companies just don't hire anyone anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things. I mean, one of the things that happened with the textile unions. I mean, textile industry
the
in the U.S.
Teamsters,
was
yeah.
terrible. But when the textile industry was changed, I mean, the hourly pay at one point for textile manufacturing, plus the amount of breaks they had, was so severe that it would have been like $100 for a T-shirt.
Good
It
lord.
would have been like it was like It was like really. I don't have the exact numbers. It was like $40 an hour or something. It was like an obscene. And they can only work for so many hours, and they have to have so many breaks. I mean, Hollywood's like that. You have to have like a meal
Screen Actors
every 6
Guild.
hours. You have to have a meal, and you have to be paid this much. And if you're within this distance, this, and if you're traveling on a plane, it has to be first class. And there's like all these rules, as long if you're part of this specific thing.
Yeah. And that could be a
let's-
problem for the company if they can't pay.
Let's just talk about what we're doing for Christmas before we leave.
Before we leave, folks, let's talk about Christmas. Really, my plans for Christmas involve most likely, my family putting on the only pair of lights we have on the house, getting a tree. I'm thinking it might be fake, might be real, though, this year. I'm not sure. We might end up buying it from Boy Scouts out there. And also, just doing normal Christmas stuff.
Bobby, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna sleep for 30 days and then come back here to this hellhole.
I second that emotion thoroughly.
I have to work for both of you two. Got lucky. I gotta work it.
He's gotta work.
I gotta
He's gotta
work.
work.
But I'm getting that money.
Getting that money.
Getting that financial
so,
stability, millennials.
Merry Christmas to all of our peoples.
Merry Christmas to all. And to all. It's not night, so good afternoon.
For Niagara 124, I'm Nico.
Bobby.
I'm Joe. And have yourself a merry little...
Okay, can you pick a key?
I am doing it.
Yo, you ain't.
Fine, play the Sinatra.
Sinatra, play us out.
Okay, hold on. Stop the thingy.